So this morning, Beardy, I was shocked from Somerset as
Crikey.
I read the account of Meta's settlement because of this whole issue of social media and how it, frankly, hasn't been regulated for the youngsters. And I was shocked by some of the things I think they admitted. And you can see it by some of the measures they've taken. But the headlines are that Meta have agreed to pay £18 billion, which is just, remember, a billion is 1,000 million. It's a huge sum of money for a business over 10 years to settle a whole load of claims, effectively a class action from US states. So it wasn't individuals.
No.
And basically, the allegation was that Facebook and Instagram, whom they own, were designed to addict and harm children. Now, Meta have settled but doesn't admit any wrongdoing.
No.
But, there's so many cases.
It's a civil case, isn't it? Sorry, forgive me. It's a civil case. It's not a criminal case.
No.
The bits that I was listening to yesterday is that they're not, clearly they can take them back to court if they don't pay up, but they're not under obligation to pay up. They can turn around and say, well, no. And it was the figure that I was listening to yesterday was suggesting that they make 60 billion a year, and this is like a tenth of 1 year's profit spread over 10 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I interrupted you in your flow.
No, not at all. And so what you're saying, insignificant. But there's been stories in the UK, and there's a tragic story of a young girl who, on the face of it, appeared absolutely fine and normal. And one day, her parents had that dreadful experience of going to wake her up in the morning and she'd taken her own life.
Yeah.
And then when they looked at what she'd been looking at, she's been served all this effectively suicide material. And we know that from the things we look at. Once you've looked at a particular category, you're getting it from left, right and centre, which when this all started was quite clever. If you're interested in gardening, why wouldn't you be sent a few gardening articles? If you're interested in your favourite football team, why shouldn't you be sent posts? But when it comes to things such as self-harm, addiction, suicide, you ask yourself, surely common sense should prevail, and that you have to assume that the analysts and the techies who create stuff know what they're doing. And to suggest that £18 billion is not an admission of guilt is for the birds, isn't it? I don't know many businesses, even if they make 60 billion a year, who'd say, oh, well, we've got 18 billion in the drawer, take that.
Yeah.
So, and then you start to look at some of the things they've promised to do very quickly. They're going to limit teenagers to a 2-hour limit across Facebook and Instagram. There can be a nighttime ban from midnight to 6. You think, crikey, do you really need that for a kid?
Yeah.
Think about that. If you've got a youngster who's going to school, you're going to switch off push notifications during school time and stronger age and content controls. It's age verification is a real muddle, and it's very easy to get past that. So it just struck me that the fact that they're doing all this and they're paying 18 billion knows that they're doing it. And I find it, really offensive that large corporations would do this. When you think about our background, financial services, and the notion that we mustn't cause financial harm to anyone and how heavily regulated we are and what we have to prove and all good stuff. And then you compare it to, say, the social media world, where it feels like the Wild West.
Yeah, I suppose there's not been any regulation when it first kicked off, also, at the end of the day.
Not really.
It does sound as though a decision was made at the outset that what they wanted to do was increase the size of the business at any cost, effectively. There were no social parameters in terms of what we can and cannot do. Let's set these analytics up for anybody. And I'm quite surprised that they've gone, because again, not that I'm the cynic, but some of the measures that they've said that they're going to bring in, like the overnight ban and what, these kids that use, well, I know this is a cliche, but use this sort of thing are not stupid if they want to access it. You're reliant upon them putting their correct age in when they sign up. And as you quite rightly point out, the age verification thing and the VPN thing and the, getting around it is not that difficult. I just wonder whether we, as a society, whether we need to, I'll talk on another pod that we're doing this week. We're going to talk about the Meta glasses thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I do wonder whether, as a society, maybe what's happening online is a reflection of where we are, and maybe we ought to be looking at, what we want, and what we don't want, because these organisations, national social media companies, only flourish because we're giving them all this business, don't they? We're on there all the time, whether you be 60, 85 or what have you.
Yeah.
That's where they're making their money. If we don't want this sort of thing, then maybe we ought to have a step back and say we were expecting governments to ban it. I think is probably a bit difficult. What about you've got, they're not kids now, but you've got
Well, it's grandchildren.
some,
Grandchildren.
And how do they? Grandchildren, exactly. How do they interact with this sort of thing?
The two older ones, I've got 10 and 7. They've got what you would call iPads. It's a different brand, but it's the same thing. And they've got my old desktop, and they play Roblox, which
that's like an old abacus, isn't it? Your old desktop.
Yeah. It's got Amstrad written on the back of it. And they play that, but they've been restricted by their mum and dad, and particularly my granddaughter. Her eyes go weird when she's been on it for too long. So it's very easy, and we can be critical of parents, but when you're stressed, you haven't got much time, you're trying to make dinner, get the kids ready for an activity. It's very easy to plunk them down in front of a device. Like in our day, it would have been, kids'
Television.
TV. Yeah. But you only got an hour, didn't you? Remember, kids' TV was between 5 and 6 or something before the news came on.
Yeah.
So, and they're not quite in the danger zone yet. No. I think once they start senior school, once they're into the sort of 11, 12-year-olds, that's when it starts to get awkward. And it was interesting. I was talking to a young lady the other day who works at a school, and her job is to support kids with any sort of mental health or condition, whatever it is. And the school had 1,200 kids. And I said, well, okay, how many are on your list? How many of those? What do you think the answer was?
Of 1,200. On your 300?
Not far off, 400.
Crikey.
So 1 in 3. Yeah. Now, maybe two of them have only been once and that was it. But I'm not blaming social media, but she said it's a huge, huge thing.
So I wonder why they were, I mean, you probably didn't have this conversation with her. We can only speculate, but I wonder how they determine who goes on their list as to what.
I didn't have that.
As to how, why they're in danger from it or what have you.
I don't know. But anyway, the connection is that, is this, forget what they're looking at, is this just connection with your device for 3 or 4 hours. And then you say, well, what are the UK doing? We just have to remind ourselves that bill is still going through, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the UK is going further, actually. It's looking to ban social media for under 16s. So I think that's a good thing. Accepting what you said, they'll probably find ways of getting around it. Meta have already, I didn't know this, got protections for 13 plus content. In other words, making sure that things under that age won't be displayed. But it's an issue. And when you have a company as big as Meta doing these things and knowingly let this happen, despite what they might say, it's a concern.
Well, what they also said, wasn't it, which I found quite interesting, they were calling upon other organisations, other companies within the industry to join them effectively. And clearly there's a market share argument here. I appreciate it's not done purely as a morally responsible organisation, but to join them in putting in place these measures to avoid this type of thing happening. I just can't help but feel, and I hear what you say about what, they're trying. Australia have put this ban in place, haven't they, effectively for under 16s. That's been running for some while now. I think the British one, as you quite rightly point out, is even more stringent as and when it is it in play already, or is it coming into play?
No, not yet.
No. I don't know. When the genie's out the bottle, can you really put it back in again?
No, not back in. No,
yeah.
But you can row back from where you are, can't you?
I suppose to a degree. Yeah. I think the danger area, as you say, talking about kids, and what concerns me is that kids from about the age of 12, 13, when they're out of almost out of parental control when it comes to dealing with that type of thing, because they've got their own kids and their own peer group and what have you. I think what worries me most is these online challenges, which, kids have
I know
killed
ones,
themselves on in respect of. But also, perhaps even more so, is the way they can get attracted to, I suppose we call unsavoury groups and have
grooming.
Yeah, exactly. Grooming and political groups and listening to stuff that's not correct. Listening to stuff that's not. Once upon a time, we had a mainstream media where you got all your information from, and that didn't vary to a degree, did it? That was generally correct. They wouldn't put out information that they didn't think was right. Now, I think online, it's as you said just now, it's a Wild West.
But it wouldn't be difficult, would it? Given and Meta know a thing or two about AI. It wouldn't be difficult just to take this content down, would it? You and me could get into a room for an afternoon on a whiteboard and write down categories we think should just be removed from the platform. Any sense of self-harm, any sense of grooming. I know that, you can't maybe get everything, but there must be things that are loud and clear and in your face. Cruelty to animals. And anything that, and you say, oh, Big Brother, freedom of speech, all the rest of it. No, it isn't. It's just common sense. You wouldn't let that happen in the high street.
No.
So that's my two penneth.
Yeah.
Anyway, Meta, I'm glad you've done what you've done. I accept you haven't admitted wrongdoing. I accept that. Raise your game.